Like, at this point in the documentary, the news has come to them that though the judge had originally said that he was just going to rule in Meghan's favor, he didn't want a trial and he didn't want disclosure. Now they are asking for disclosure after all. I guess there was some kind of appeal. And now they've got to show disclosure. So they've told Meghan that they need, from her email and from her phone, any times that the words "I love you, Archie, Will, Kate, and Africa" come up on her phone. They need anything that has those words in it. And Harry and Meghan are flabbergasted and super angry about it because they say, and if this is true, it is kind of strange. They say that this is just the Daily Mail's way of getting more information about them, and that they're just continuing to do more digging, and that as long as this lawsuit goes on, they have to fork over more and more private information in order to win the case. But they're going to win it come hell or high water. Is it worth it though, you guys? Like, if you're really worried about your privacy, just call it a loss. They decide to publish a letter that you wrote to your dad. All right, you wrote it to your dad. Who cares if anybody reads it? It isn't as though you were writing a letter to, your affair partner and that was leaked. It isn't as though you were writing a letter so you could embezzle money from the family company. Like, you wrote a letter to your dad and people found out you wrote a letter to your dad. What's the loss here? And if you wrote it with the intention for it to be leaked, as we'll talk about later, what do you think was in there that was so condemning? You're the one that's making it a big issue. You're the one that wants to create this whole problem so that you can write and be like, I'm going to be the one who changes it for everyone else. The media is going to keep lying about people and keep lying about people and keep lying about people. But you know what? They're not going to lie about me. Don't let them. Who gives a damn? That's what I don't understand. Who do you think that you are helping with all of this? You're hurting yourself and yourself only, and nobody cares. It's like if that letter had just come out and she'd just been like, oh, unfortunate, I wish that hadn't happened, and moved on, nobody would ever even remember she wrote a letter to her dad. But she's the one that has made it. This has dragged on for years at this point, And as she says, she's like complaining about it and she's saying, it's just taking so long for this to finally be rectified. When I started this, I didn't even have kids. And since it started, I've had Archie, I've had a miscarriage, and I've had Lilibet. And it's still going and it isn't solved yet. And I'm like, that's ding, ding, ding. That's a message to you that you're dragging something out that shouldn't be dragged out this long. That many years of being under stress, that's your fault, because you could have just chosen at any time to let this one go. But you had to get Chicklet Teeth Jenny up in this place to come litigate for you and change the whole narrative of the story so you could have this win. But at the end, was it a win? All right, we got a lot to cover, so I need to just keep going. The new issue that has come up, along with the fact that on disclosure, they want to get into all of her personal emails and find out stuff that she says has nothing to do with the initial letter. The new issue is that all the names of her friends from the People magazine article are about to be leaked, and the court wants to go and talk to all of those friends who are supposedly witnesses to this letter. Now, her friends all knew that she had written this letter and apparently had been shown a draft of this letter, and one of the friends who had been interviewed for the People magazine made mention of it. And so because she mentioned the fact that this letter was being sent and that she seemed to have knowledge of the letter, now there's the concern that, well, Meghan was showing the letter around anyway, and her friend already mentioned the letter. So if her friends already mentioned the letter, then the Daily Mail can go ahead and talk about the letter because her friends already did it. And Meghan knew that her friends were talking to people. Meghan says, I didn't even know my friends were talking to people, okay? They decided to do it as a fun little surprise. What's interesting, though, is that Meghan has already said in this documentary at a previous time that she didn't ever really read the article that her friends had done for People magazine. So kind of a bitchy move of hers if her friends did this as a fun surprise to her to talk about their great friend, and then she didn't even read it. Right? So for her to say, my friends just did this as a fun little surprise and, they have to be allowed to be kind to me and I'm going to protect their names and identities because they were trying to be nice to me when they did this interview for People magazine to defend my character. And I didn't even know that they were going to do it. And, well, they did do it and you didn't read it. What was the point and purpose of that whole thing then? For them to stick their necks out for you and then you didn't even read it? It's so convoluted. But then we got to get back to this lawsuit. Crazy lawyer Jenny says that the judge had been all ready and willing just to rule in Meghan's favor without a trial and without disclosure. I didn't know you could have any judge rule in anyone's favor when they haven't seen all the evidence, but okay. But of course the associate appealed that, and everyone on Meghan and Harry's side is like, yeah, it was just for clickbait. They just wanted more clickbait. That's why they appealed it. They weren't willing to just let sleeping dogs lie. Just let it be. They were in the wrong. They should just let Meghan have it. But then, after it's appealed, somebody from William's team, who happens to be Jason Knopf, who happened to work for Harry and Meghan before, comes out with a witness statement. And Crazy Jenny is all mad about that because she's like, that wasn't even required. He didn't even have to come out with a witness statement. He just did it to gum up the works. And that's a statement in which Jason was saying, well, actually, Meghan did expect this to be leaked because she and I talked about it. We colluded over the fact that this could be leaked. So what is better wording that we can use? What are things that you can say to increase public empathy and sympathy for you in this scenario if, in fact, it is leaked? So then they're really, really mad about it. And Harry and Meghan are super hung up on the fact that the press keeps talking about Jason as a former aide of theirs, rather than saying that he is presently an aide for William. But why would the press even mention that it was that he was currently working for William? Because William's not part of the story. Jason has authority in this story because he worked for Harry and Meghan, and it was him with Meghan who had written the letter to her father. So of course it's incumbent upon the story to tell a full story, to say that he used to work for Harry and Meghan. What good does it do now to be like, but now he works for William? William's not part of the story. That is only interesting to Harry and Meghan because Harry and Meghan are convinced that William is favored. Well, he is. He's in line to the throne. So why do they keep acting so surprised about hierarchy? I'm so sickened by their continual anger at the reality of the situation. This is the way that it is. That's like if I went outside and just screamed to the skies because I hated the fact that the trees were green. I don't want green leaves. I want bright pink leaves, but they're green. And I'm going to get all worked up about it. This is just the way that it is. In order to have a royal family, there has to be hierarchy in order for it to function. If you want to make an argument that there shouldn't be a royal family, okay, make that argument. But that's not the argument that Harry and Meghan are making presently. At least Harry isn't. Maybe Meghan, she could probably be convinced to talk pretty negatively about the idea of having a monarchy. But right now they haven't made that argument. Yet they want to continue to be mad about the way that the monarchy is structured. But it is. That's what a monarchy is. That's how it has to be. So, their continual anger about it is aggravating. What I do want to say about this whole thing with Jason and the text messages is that I find it very interesting that prior to writing the letter to her father, she had drummed up all this faux anxiety and fear that it would be leaked. And she made everybody in the institution and in the family well aware that she was afraid that the letter would be leaked. She talked about it constantly and continually. And she says went to great lengths to make sure that that wouldn't happen. But it feels like those were just seeds she was planting so that the whole family could then, when it is leaked, then everybody who knew that she'd been worried about it would be like, oh, she's right. She was right to be worried. It happened just like she said, and she's planting all of this in everybody's mind that she really doesn't want this to happen. But of course she wanted it to happen, because if she didn't, she would have been planning with Jason about the right words. She would have gone and seen her dad if she really didn't want it to be leaked, right? She would have done something. We've already covered this ad nauseum. Okay. Of course, the witness statement made no difference. As Jenny says, after being really indignant about the fact that the statement was given because the person giving the statement didn't have to give a statement, it turns out that the statement had no legal weight. In the end, did the witness statement have anything to do? Was it even used by the judge to make his decision? No. And she ends up winning it. And then we get all this really lame footage of her, and she's calling all of her friends at 2 o'clock in the morning to let them know she won. And she and Harry are staying up till 2 o'clock in the morning to find out, what the verdict is. And it's just super selfish to be like, okay, you can stay up till 2 a.m. to worry about this lawsuit that you could have given up at any time. But why are you waking folks up out of their beds to let them know that you have just won? It's ridiculous. And Harry, kind of tries to wrap the whole thing up by saying, the media makes an awful lot of money on coming after people like this and bringing celebrities to trial. And it's just a complete circus, and it's just for them. They make so much money, they get so many stories out of it. And so, of course, we had to stand up against it. What are you talking about? Wouldn't that be the very reason why you wouldn't play into it, knowing that they're making so much money and that you are just now a clown in a circus? Wouldn't you not want to be used that way to help them make more money? Isn't that the whole reason you're angry in the first place? So why would you engage with them? To give them more information, to give them more of your personal property, your private information, so they can keep writing about you, if you know that's what they're doing? Isn't this kind of like shooting yourself in the foot? Isn't this self-defeating at best? But he's so proud of them for sticking with it even when it was really hard. So hard it made my wife miscarry. Because, we can't prove that it did make her miscarry, but I'm sure it did. He says that multiple times, that it was because of this lawsuit that they now are one less child in their family. If you are so stressed out that your body is evicting the life within you, would it not then be incumbent upon you to just drop the lawsuit? I mean, if you are working yourself up into such an emotional lather that you are miscarrying a child, you need to give up what is happening here. And if she was that stressed out, I'm surprised she was even able to get pregnant in the first place. If your body is just unable to function, you got pregnant in the first place. Miscarriages happen frequently, unfortunately. It does turn out that your wife is pretty stressed out. But if she was this stressed out, she would have been this stressed out before she miscarried. And at any point, she could have decided, this isn't worth it. I'm becoming ill. I don't feel well. If you are going to miscarry a baby due to stress, there would have been other markers of stress before you miscarried. And at any one of those, you could have said, I'm done. It doesn't matter enough to me. I'm here. I'm where I want to be. I'm in California. I'm doing the causes and things that I'm interested in doing. I'll just let this one lie. I don't have to win this one. But no,